Dogs with me here as usual. Tuesday, April 21st. We are 2 days away from the NFL draft. And, on a more important note, it looks like you know, at least here in Maui and from what I'm seeing around the country and the world, um, this COVID thing, well, we don't have it licked by any stretch of the imagination. Things are definitely heading in the right direction, and I think that means that we are closer to seeing sports resume right away. I think Bundesliga is talking about starting in just a few weeks, and I'm going to guess we're going to start seeing games. I don't think we're going to see fans in the stands, but I do think we're going to see games. We're going to see, players tested and, a lot of testing and a lot of caution. But I think what we're starting to see is that people are recovering and it's starting to just run its course. Not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say I'm a medical expert. I'm not going to say any of those things. But at a certain point, it's going to be back to business as usual, and I think everybody is ready for it. I know my wife is for us because I don't think she's ever seen me sleep in this late or take this many naps or things like that. But kind of ready for it, as I said yesterday. For those of you that didn't watch the show, I don't talk a lot of politics, and really, I'm not saying one side or the other. But I think the whole stimulus thing was just one of the biggest is going to go down as one of the biggest flops in U.S. history. And it's going to be something that people point back to for the next 100 years and talk about how things shouldn't be done. I think when you have the CEO of Shake Shack going on TV yesterday and talking about what a great guy he is for giving back his $10 million that his company got, I think the rest of us should be in his face saying, "Why in the hell did you ask for it in the first place? You were just trying to scam the system." I mean, that's pretty much the way that it worked. And it's like, I know a lot of people with smaller businesses, and I don't know anyone that got a check. I only know people that have banking relationships with JP Morgan like Shake Shack does, a $1.7 billion publicly traded company with tons of access to cash and investors, and they get $10 million like that from the federal government, while the small businesses out there, I mean, how many local restaurants do you know that aren't going to make it out of this? And people like that. It's pathetic, man. It's absolutely pathetic. You guys know I'm never one to hold back my opinion or anything like that, but I'll tell you, man, not happy with the way that has gone. I applied for zero, got zero. I know some people have gotten $1,200, but I don't know anyone with a small business that's gotten. And I think that's where the problem is. That this thing really didn't work. Really, really bad. And now they have a second stimulus plan. It's much smaller than the first one. But aside from that, like I said, it looks like things are flatlining. We had 4 new cases in Hawaii yesterday. See, this is the other thing that I don't really understand is they're saying that, so it's got to be decreased for 2 weeks in order to start thinking about, increasing or relaxing the restrictions. But it's like we have the second least amount of cases next to like Montana, which is not, it's just probably another lowly populated state. So it's like we had 4 cases yesterday. So what exactly we've had only a handful of deaths also. And I think like we've had a total of less than 500 cases, and like 410 of them are already cured and have gone through the cycle. So for our numbers to drop, it's going to have to be like 1 case a day or basically done. So it's like, it seems like that doesn't really fit. But anyways, aside from that, having a great morning. Guys, NFL draft on the way here. Thursday is the big day. I'll be live throughout the entire first round of the draft. I don't know if I'll be doing the second, doing the Friday and Saturday, but let's just say I don't have anything else to do, so I might be around. But hearing a lot of talk about teams wanting to trade, and you know, what are you guys hearing? Rod, how you doing today? Looks frozen. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm just waiting for the dominoes to start falling and for maybe teams to start making moves. Maybe a couple teams will make moves pre-draft, but other than that, like you, I'm waiting for Thursday.
So in Canada, are they starting to release, like, talking about lessening the restrictions on everybody, or?
No, we've actually extended ours till I think the middle of May in my province, anyways. I mean, but goes back to the point you were saying, like about the small businesses. Like we're being encouraged to, if we're gonna order from the smaller restaurants and order for curb or select for curbside pickup because that's what a lot of the businesses are doing now. They're saying the restaurants are closed, but the kitchens are staying open. So we're trying to help out small businesses wherever we can.
How about you, Steve? What's the word in New Jersey? New York Governor Cuomo is just on and says that we passed the apex and have certainly, at the very least, flatlined. It's not, um, you know, it's not like everything's cured and everything's great and everything's perfect, but it's certainly headed in the right direction. How are things in New Jersey looking?
Yeah, I would say I would agree that I think we've hit the apex and we're not out of the woods by any stretch, but it just seems like there's less tension, fear going to the stores. Everybody's got to wear a mask, so no matter what store you go into, you're definitely required to wear a mask. As far as my kids, my daughter is a sophomore in high school. My son's in eighth grade. They were hoping to get back in April, but they extended it to May 15th. So my son's in eighth grade, so hopefully, they get at least another month, and he's able to, don a cap and gown, and they got an end of the year trip. I doubt that would probably be doable, putting all these kids on a couple buses, and they typically go to Philly, but things like that. But we're not out of the woods, but I would say things are starting to look a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that I read yesterday that Boston University was possibly canceling the fall semester, heading all the way into that would be all the way into January when students would return to campus. And like I said, I think a slow process and things like that are all fine. And I'm not going to be rushing into any movie theaters, airplanes, or stadiums anytime soon myself. But at the same time, I think starting to get back to normal, get into places where you do have spacing, kind of like golf courses, and maybe lightening up some of the restrictions at the grocery stores and at the other stores. Um, I think for me, I think it's time, and I think that always it's easy to say err on the side of safety, right? But I think at a certain point we've crushed our country's economy, and so at a certain point you have to get back to business. And while sports, we love sports for what it is, it's we've talked about it a million times. It's most definitely a business, and all the way now, even from the high school level, it's a business, and it will continue to always be a business. And we have a comment here. Do you think the NBA is going to get canceled? No, I don't. If they've held on for this long, they know how much money they're going to lose. The NBA is, I mean, just let's just say the Clippers sold for what, $3 billion, and the Rockets sold for $3 billion. We're talking big, big, big money. I don't see any cancellations. I think if they were dead set on canceling, like some of the other things were, they would have canceled already. They know how important these things. Why do you think they moved the Kentucky Derby back? Why do you think they do this instead of canceling? Because they couldn't. Churchill Downs, I don't think could withstand it if they didn't have Derby Day. They're looking to have live fans, but they couldn't withstand it without getting the TV rights and all of that stuff to the Kentucky Derby. They probably couldn't take it a year. It's probably the Kentucky Derby, like for Churchill Downs, is probably more money than they make the whole rest of the year combined. Unless they host the Breeders' Cup, and then, then they get an extra bonus there. But I'm going to guess that, it's pretty much their entire year. So the Los Angeles Chargers have updated their uniforms. This is one uniforms where they actually did make some changes on the uniforms. The Patriots yesterday said, we're changing our uniforms to the same uniforms that we had. I don't know. Same. It seems to be the same announcement every day. A lot of changing the uniforms to the same uniform that we had. But the Chargers uniforms are actually super cool. I think they're really cool. So I always thought the Chargers had great uniforms to begin with. But now I think their uniforms are even better. This is the first one I've seen where I could say, it's not like they changed the numbers on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or something, It's like, or the Cleveland Browns. It's like, let's say it's going to be brown, white, and orange. And very plain. It's like Penn State has changed their uniforms. It's like, see, what we did is we took in the sleeve 1/4 of an inch. It's like it looks exactly the same. Yeah. But the Chargers actually here's a picture of the Chargers uniforms right here. Super cool. You can see the pants. They've changed the lightning bolt in the pants. That dark uniform looks exceptional. The one even before that, the lighter blue, looks great. The white with the yellow pants, and of course the UCLA powder blue with the yellow pants and the powder blue. The Chargers have always had great uniforms anyway. You slice it, but at least they got it right. Chris, what do you think of those new Patriots uniforms? You going to be able to recognize them? I mean, they're exactly the same as they were last. I mean,
you know what they remind me of, and I think that I may have seen them before. They remind me of their Thursday night jerseys when they were doing the Color Rush jerseys. That's pretty much what it reminds me of, and I don't know.
The Color Rush is when they did the same color pants as the same color shirt, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It was like a specialty for the Thursday night.
So they did the blue shirts with the blue pants.
Yeah.
And those were different than their regular jerseys.
Yeah, because they had if they had the white jerseys, they would have the blue on the shoulder. But now they have the navy blue with the red stripe on the top of the shoulder. I don't know.
It seems a lot of uniform changes this year as a Dolphin fan.
It's just another jersey that someone's gonna have to.
I'm hoping for the old Dolphin jersey to come back and helmet. I really hate the fins up.
Yeah, me too. I'm very not happy that the Dolphins
light aqua fins up
away from their original.
Yeah, I mean, they put on the original jerseys. That was the ones that they beat the Patriots in, on the Kenyon Drake play. Of course, they beat the Patriots last year in their regular uniforms. Just saying. Anyways. So, San Francisco 49ers want to trade out of their draft spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, they don't have a second. What did I read? They don't have a second and second through fourth round picks. So I think they need to recoup some of those picks. So I can understand why they'd be open for business.
Well, they have 2 picks, right, in the first round. Is that how it works? So they have
13 and 31, I think.
Yeah. So 13, they probably could get a boatload for. 31, I'm going to guess not as much. 31 is probably that pick, and then a second rounder or something, maybe third rounder. But 13, they could probably get a bunch for. But I think they need more help than they think they do. And that's just me.
Well, we talked about them needing a receiver. They have a lot of, like you said, but wide receiver. They lost Sanders, and I think they got to get a stud wide receiver. I think that's a priority.
There's a lot of them out there, so what they're probably thinking is they can probably get one at 31. Yeah. Not everyone's going to take wide receivers, but generally in the draft, we'll see a a run at a position. We've seen, there's been, tackle runs where guys, lousy offensive tackles have gone way too high, in the draft. And you see these runs of guys, where, not very good players get drafted way out of position. They had the 89 NFL draft on ESPN last night, which I don't know, man. I guess I got a problem. I watched it. It's easy it's fun to look back in hindsight, but at the same time, to listen to these guys, it just reminds you how little these guys know about football. That are the draft gurus. I mean, Mel Kiper. This guy, I think, like, he only watches film. He's never watched an actual game of college football. It's like he only watches combine numbers. So, did you guys catch any of the 89 draft on ESPN? I know it's probably not everybody's number one choice of programming out there.
No ESPN in Canada.
Yeah. No ESPN, so I didn't have the choice.
Yeah.
I did not, but I taped the Jordan thing, that Last Dance. So the first 2 episodes I caught last night. So thought it was fantastic, by the way. Those first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I thought that was really good as well. It's so in this draft, so the reason why I'm hammering this draft, and we'll get to the Jordan thing next, and then back to the draft and then some sim picks. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this draft, and the reason why I'm saying that how little Mel Kiper knows, is that so in this draft there were 2 safeties taken with back-to-back picks. Okay, and it was a good class of safeties this year. So the first safety off the board in this scenario was Louis Oliver, and the Dolphins. Mel Kiper was just saying how the Dolphins had hit a home run and all this other stuff. And the next guy taken was Steve Atwater, and Kiper just ripped them apart. And, I mean, he ripped this guy apart. So Steve Atwater went on, or I believe Atwater went first is what happened. So Atwater goes first. Kiper's ripping him because Oliver is on the board, right? And so Atwater goes on to win a couple of Super Bowls, Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl like a million times over, right? I mean, probably, I don't know if he's a top 5 safety of all time, but he's probably in that top 25 list, top 10. You could probably argue he's in. It's a tough thing because there's different types of safety, right? There's the Ronnie Lott safety, right? It's going to decapitate you every time you come over the middle, and also he can, hit a fullback, coming across the middle for a pass. And there's no tight end that wants to come across the middle with him hitting you either. And then there's Rod Woodson, right, who can basically take you to the house at any given moment. And, Troy Polamalu is, once again, another guy who's basically a linebacker playing safety. All different types. But Steve Atwater was certainly in that. You didn't want to go over the middle against Steve Atwater. So, Steve, you think the Broncos made the right choice there? You think maybe Mel Kiper was a little bit off?
Yeah, I mean, we could break his chops all we want. I mean, he's been doing this since 1983. You have to assume he's going to get, some really wrong. And obviously the Atwater pick was, for him to crush him at the time, obviously proved to be, based. But Louis Oliver, he was your boy for the Dolphins.
Right, but Louis Oliver is just, he's what my friend Pete said about it, because we were talking about it, as it happened. He's like, Louis Oliver's just a guy, He's kind of like, some of the guys we talked about the other day, where it's like, he's just a guy, you know, in the league. He's not a Hall of Famer. You know, he's a damn good player. This Oliver was good. He was a starter. All those things. But what I found is that I watch more of the NFL Network stuff than I do ESPN, and I have for the last 10 years, maybe even more. I find them to be more accurate. But I think that Kuiper gets a little too carried away with guys. Is what happens is that he falls in love with these guys, and then they, it's like his best player available on the board is obviously, sometimes you'll see his best player available on the board for days. It's like maybe the GMs know something that he doesn't know, and I think if there was really a method to the madness, that there'd be an NFL team out there that would just make him a giant offer. And there hasn't been. And, not that I know of. It's like, there's a reason why the Red Sox hired Bill James, right? There's a reason. It's like finally someone said, you know what? Let's bring this guy in and hear what he has to say. I'll pay him. I don't care. It's like, I know everyone thinks he's a lunatic, but you know what? Maybe he's got a point. We're not winning any other way, right? They bring him in, all of a sudden, what happens? Hey, man, we got Pedro Martinez now. It's like, we have a pretty good team, It's like, what happened there? Is that a Facebook ad or something? What just happened to me? That was odd. So, anyways, so Sunday was parts 1 and 2 of The Last Dance, and I loved it. Did you guys get a chance to see it, Chris and Rod? No ESPN.
I did not. I'm going to see if I can stream it, though.
It's got to be on Hulu or something, right? Disney streaming, ESPN. Did you get ESPN Plus?
No.
No?
No. It's on Netflix.
I go to sign up and it tells me you live in Canada. You're not allowed.
No, they got a point. As far as we're concerned.
My takeaway of this was, obviously we see Michael Jordan is considered the best of all time, but watching the footage of him, boy, it really, brought back to this guy was just lights out, man. He was just a fantastic player, man.
I saw him at Madison Square Garden in the Kiki Vanderway era, and it was a show. That was not a good Knicks team, No.
But the part 2, when they played the Celtics in '86 in the playoffs, and we were still going to school at the time. And I remember, we were watching this at BU, and, the night he went off for 63. And
I thought it was 68, and that was the weird thing because, like, my wife and I were watching, and she was actually, it was that compelling, that she was watching. And, I was like, oh, yeah. She was like, oh, and what happens? I said, oh, he scored 68 points, but it was actually 63. But I'll tell you what, man, it was.
But they, even Larry Bird was being interviewed at the time, during '86, and even Larry Bird was like, "This guy is, he's something special, man," and he really was.
Oh yeah, and Magic Johnson too. Magic Johnson was saying it wasn't like a matter of if he was going to win championships. It was a matter of how long they were going to take to put the supporting cast around him that he could win championships with.
And his killer instinct is second to none too. His competitive drive and making everybody around him accountable. Not even better, but accountable. Like you don't follow Michael's way, you're gone. And then the buffoonery of Jerry Krause is another interesting aspect of it. So. It's highly recommended to watch. And
I can't wait for the next one. And I believe that the second one. So that was really the first one was mostly on Jordan. The second one was mostly about Scottie Pippen.
That's right.
I believe the third one is about Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
So
I just found out they're on Netflix up here, so I'll be able to watch them.
Yeah, and it was just outstanding, and I think that some of the blocks that he makes are just crazy.
His athleticism is just right. I mean, it's again, Chris and Rod still haven't seen it, so we don't want to, say too much. But it's awesome. It was 2 hours. I was just awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't wait for the next one. It's one of those things that if they would have had all 10 out, I would have binged. I would have binged
Yeah.
the whole thing. I started watching it at, I had to tape it, because here it's on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But so I taped it and I taped the second one as well, and it's kind of like I would have watched it. I would have been one of those things that I started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I would have sat down and watched it all the way through easily.
Yeah, me too.
It'll be interesting to see as it goes. I think that the cool thing about it is that they're not like saying it was like this surprise or anything like this. It was basically like they knew that this was going to be the last season, so the Bulls had already won 5 championships. So the amount of footage that they actually have is unbelievable. Like it's not like Hard Knocks where they go into the locker room for a couple things. I mean, they have basically everything that these guys did for the entire season, and they flash back and do all those things. And that's always cool to hear because there's still things there that when they flash back, as much as you've heard about these guys, that you still haven't heard. There's still stuff in there that it was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they gave access to a film crew for that season. I mean, like nothing was on, behind closed doors. They had, this film crew had access to everything. So, in retrospect, it's great what we're seeing.
So Matt Forte ripped the Bears management watching that show on Twitter. I don't know, man. Is Matt Forte really? Is he allowed to do that? I mean, what was he? I would love to know what he was saying. I don't follow Matt Forte on Twitter. I don't follow. I don't. You guys know I'm not on Twitter a bunch. I have 2 accounts, and I'm on both of them probably combined 2 minutes a day at the most. I've been trying to do a little bit more Instagramming, at least a few times a week.
Right.
Even that I can't figure out. But I've been working on the studio a lot, so there's 4 sets inside the studio. It's gonna be super duper, man. I have all kinds of. What I can't decide because the studio has carpeting on the floor, and it's like I have so much equipment in there that I'm trying to figure out like what do I do with the floor, because it's like. So I have a TV in the studio, which isn't surprising. So I got one of those big, heavy-duty media carts, to put the TV on, and it's like so I got to roll that around, depending on what set I'm sitting at. Because I figured like if Rod and I are doing horses, or like if I'm just doing a regular halftime show, I got to have the TV in there too, and then. I have the sets for doing the regular videos, the Sports Chat video and the Pick Dogs video. And then I have my new set for doing the show, which...
My shitty internet.
No, you're there. We see you there. I'm hardwired in the studio too, man. I'm
No, I don't know.
What's going on, Rod's?
The shitty fucking internet.
Okay.
I sit here, I'm frozen.
I
Frozen like
see.
a brick. Everybody's frozen for me.
The surfboards in my house. So here's a question: where the surfboards? The surfboards are not in the house anymore. They were moved out to the garage about a year ago. I had a custom surfboard rack built in the garage, and all the boards go in there. I'm too wired up on this show. Not really all that much. I'll lose. What will I lose if I get up? Show everybody. Oh, what the hell? I think we've done this before. We're going to see out there. Let's see. Disconnect this one, and I stand in the dark. Oop. Huh. Sorry. Am I back? There we go. I'm going to show everyone what happened to the surfboards. So there's the question. Move this down here. I'm going to leave that here. We'll just go to this. And shit. All right. And we're off. So what happened to the surfboards? The surfboards were moved to the garage. Right there.
There you go.
Yep. You put the custom rack there. There's the Mitch car. And then you got also boards up there. So that's what happened to the surfboards. They got moved to the garage. Along with my golf practice equipment.
Pretty dark. Oh, I see the sun starting to peek up.
Now it's pitch black. Go outside. I'll probably lose internet out here. I guess it's just starting to come up, right?
Yeah, start.
It's pretty dark out here.
Crazy how that works. It's sunny and hot. Well, hot for us, but I consider hot.
About to rain here in New Jersey.
Mitch still he'll still be in a jacket and a sweater probably. And a t-shirt.
All right. Bring you guys back in. So that answers that question. That is the long version as I get hooked back up. In the new studio, I will not be able to do that. So.
Yeah, I remembered hearing something about the Matt Forte thing on when the Last Dance was playing, but I'm just reading the tweets as to what he said in there.
Yeah, so give us a little insight, Chris.
So Torrey Smith tweets, one man's ego ruined one of the greatest teams in any sport. And then Matt Forte responds saying, having played in Chicago for almost a decade, this seems to be our Achilles heel.
Yeah, but
and then follows up giving up examples about how Lovie Smith wins 10 games, but then he gets fired. And then basically saying that
he's not the first coach to win games and get fired.
Yeah.
And Lovie Smith was never going to get them there. I'll say that much. Steve, you think Lovie was going to get the Bears across the line? I thought he had his one chance. They never gave him a quarterback that was going to get him there. I mean, I'm not saying it was his fault or not his fault. I'm just saying he wasn't going to get there.
And then there's one more tweet said, so Jerry Angelo, I think that was the general manager at the time, said, lied to me in camp 2011, told my agent and I that he'd negotiated a new deal in good faith, ended up playing a rookie deal under $600,000, making the Pro Bowl, but the season ended with an MCL sprain while the puncher made $4.5 million. So, not happy.
Well, Jerry Krause, I think, is the villain of the story, but he's also the same guy that put that team together. So, he also made those trades, to get Scottie Pippen. He drafted Horace Grant. I mean, there's some arguments to be made in his defense too.
Yeah.
But I think
traded Oakley to get Cartwright, which they needed a big man.
Yeah. Those are tough. Those are the tough ones. Those are the ones where you do it, and it's like you can't win 6 championships without. You could have the best player. I mean, Miami had Dan Marino. He's the best passer in the history of the NFL. It's not even close. Like any of these other guys that have more touchdowns or anything, they might have better teams, better coaches, different rules, all that other stuff. None of them are better passers than Dan Marino. And they're not even close. Like, that's why the argument, is Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time? He's got, the 6 wins. And that's his thing, and it's a pretty big one, right? But, he certainly
If you base it all off,
he certainly wasn't the best passer.
If
He's not even close.
If you're going on the best quarterback with the most Super Bowls, then sure, then he is. But it depends what criteria you're looking at.
It depends on the criteria. Would Dan Marino have won those Super Bowls with that team that Brady and that coaching staff that Brady had to work with?
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. Sure, you don't know. You don't know because
would have won a couple.
I think he would have done okay, but I think that Dan Marino, I think that part of his own issue, and he might even be one to admit this, is that Tom Brady is also super efficient, and he plays kind of that West Coast style of offense where he will take his shots down the field, but he's also not afraid to just move the ball down the field too. While Dan Marino is way, way more likely to take shots, even though it's there. He's kind of, but he does it with a lot more efficiency and threw it all with a lot better accuracy than like Carson Wentz does it. Carson Wentz does the same thing, right? But it's like Carson Wentz. It's just
Dan Marino was definitely the best pure passer, I think, in the history of the NFL. His release, everything. I mean, just throwing the football. And like you said, I mean, there's a lot of different criteria when you're comparing, who's the greatest of all time. But, I just think Dan Marino's throwing motion and and everything was just lights out.
So, speaking of late draft choices, do you guys see any movement here in the NFL draft, like from where you originally had guys going, in our mock draft to, as we get about a day away, there is going to be a trade. I mean, is it going to happen before the actual draft? I'm not sure, but it's like we are going to see some trades and some guys go in different spots. But from what I've seen, I kind of have my list of guys that I think are the can't misses, and it's like I have other guys that I can see, being the bust, and it's the bust is more than likely this time going to come from one of these offensive linemen, Wirfs or Andrew Thomas, something like that. And
Yeah.
I think maybe some of these wide receivers too could be the next. I'm not saying they're going to be a Justin Blackmon, but maybe they end up being like a Charles Johnson. CeeDee Lamb is not that fast, but he's a good route runner. And he has very good hands, so that goes a long way. But Charles Rogers had really good hands too. Goes a long way. We'll see what happens. Someone's going to take him. That's for sure.
And they're going to take him in the top 15, most likely.
So I've been writing down my sim picks, but I haven't kept score. You guys have anything more to add, Chris? You think of anything here for your NFL draft? I'm hearing. So here's what I'm hearing. The latest is that they did a thing like comparing different players, in this draft to other players that are in the league, and there's some easy ones, Yeah. I think the Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott comparison is really not that accurate. I think Prescott was a better passer in college, and I think he's a better passer now. I think that I think the interesting one to me though is the Jordan Love Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not 100%. I'm not in that camp that there's this comparison there. Chris, you're a big Jordan Love guy. Rod, he's your can't miss guy. Is he Patrick Mahomes? 23 interceptions. I mean, Mahomes had 25 in his last 2 years, so he had 23, and that's what they're saying is that he's a gunslinger. That because he played against tougher teams with less. But I don't think he played against that much tougher teams. But he definitely played with less at Utah State.
Yeah.
But what
I
do you
still think
think
he's going to. I still think the Chargers are going to find some way to get him.
at
I
6?
really do.
At 6 or later?
Yeah.
You think the Chargers make a different pick at 6?
No, I think the Chargers. I think the Chargers take him. I think I had him originally. I think I had the Chargers trading up for the third, and then yoinking him there. But I don't think they have to yoink.
I don't think they have
trade
to.
up.
No.
No. So I think they can just stick with where he is now. I think somebody else is going to trade for that third pick, though. Someone's trading for that third spot. I think.
I do think that if the Chargers trade up, they're going to get Tua. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that that's who they're going to go after.
They compare Tua to Drew Brees, in to which case the Dolphins will never draft him. So right? For some reason, man, it's like, let's see, we could draft Drew Brees, just take anybody, It's like, who's here? It's like basically the Eli Apple of the day, right? That's who they took, and then, then he was a free agent. He wasn't good enough then. Jay Fiedler was the guy. It's like,
I think Tua's going to drop like a potato. I don't see anybody grabbing to get him.
Tua?
The Dolphins looked at him, but they never got the chance to actually look at him before this all broke out. So how can you?
Because I think everybody's looked at him, and I think the concerns that they have are the same ones that I have, and the ones that I've had going into the season before he was injured. It's the same concerns. Is that the game against Clemson in the national championship? Not that obviously not this past year when they played LSU, but the previous year they played in the national championship. It was Clemson against Alabama, and he got rung up. I mean, he got rung up by a speed rushing NFL type defense. He got lit up, and it was like he had no answers, and he couldn't throw over the top on those guys. He was too small, and when he got hit, he got hit badly. It wasn't like Ben Roethlisberger where he gets hit and he still completes the pass or anything. This guy gets hit, he gets knocked 8 yards backwards. I mean, he gets tossed around, and it's like he had wide receivers throughout his entire career that are the guys that are being drafted, right? I mean, all the way you go all the way at every point of his Alabama career, and it's all guys that were drafted in the first round. So he's had pretty good wide receivers the whole way, if not the best wide receivers of any quarterback in the country the whole way. And Alabama's scheduled super lightly over that point, over the last 2 years. They've scheduled really, really light. Their out of conference has been light, and their overall schedule has been light. They never drew the toughest part of the ACC. They haven't played Florida or Georgia in years. I don't think they played. I mean, when's the last time Florida played Alabama? I can't remember. The Lee Stallings SEC championship game when he made that decision because it was his decision to make. It's like, what the hell does that mean? I always hate that when coaches give that excuse. Why did you make that decision? Because it was my decision to make. So you're down by you're down by 10, and you kick the extra point and make you down by 9, or if you go for 2, you're down by 8. Right? You're down by 16, you score a touchdown, there's about 8 minutes left to go in the game, and you kick the extra point. So why did you do that? Because it was my decision to make. I mean, it's like, how hard is this? It's like 2 scores, right? It's 2 scores versus, 3 scores. I don't know. How many times are you going to get the ball back? Their quarterback's going to win the Heisman, right? It's like,
Yep.
The other thing I was thinking was I do think the Giants are going to move down from number 4. I know I had them taking offensive linemen at 4. I think I had them taking Tristan Wirfs.
So the Giants and the Chargers have a history of trades, right? They have a history of trading. Eli Manning for Phillip Rivers was obviously, and of close draft picks.
Yeah.
So they can move to 6.
And I think if they still want to take Wirfs, he's probably available at 6.
where they
And even if he's
picked Daniel Jones last year.
I think so. I
Where
do
does-
think they'll go for the.
So Steve comes from a family of Giant fans, and Steve, where would Daniel Jones go in this draft?
Not 5 or 6.
Pick six or round 6 for this.
Jordan Love would be picked before Daniel Jones. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How about Eason? How about Jacob Eason? Would he go before Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
I think
probably.
he does.
I think
does.
he does, yeah.
So Fromm, the word on Fromm is a lot of things they're saying about Jacob Fromm are the same things they said about Tom Brady. These are the same exact things. So I'm a little concerned about this guy, and I'm hoping that maybe the Dolphins take him with a late round pick. That maybe they wise up, and the Lions trade out of that pick. They take Okudah. It's like, who's the guy who's not going to miss, right? You take him. Take Fromm in like the 6th round, and it's like, there's your Tom Brady. Because they're saying all the same things about Fromm that they're saying about Tom Brady. Can't make the throw. It's like he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not fast enough. He makes up for it with his accuracy. Right? It's like all the same things. I'm not saying Fromm is Tom Brady, but I'm just saying that he started for 3 years and, a program that was ranked in the top 5 the whole time.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. and Georgia, unlike Alabama, played a real tough schedule every single year that he was there. I mean,
and he fended off Jacob Eason. He made Jacob Eason get out of Georgia and transfer out.
Who does have a better arm than him?
Yeah.
So Chris, who are the Giants going to take? So you have who trading into that spot then for the Giants? I cut you off there because
either the Dolphins or the Chargers, most likely. Like I said, if they want worse, I think he's still available there, and if not, I can still see them taking a guy like Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, or if for whatever reason he's not available, or they trade even lower, I can still see them taking a shot on Mekhi Becton, even with the failed drug test. I think they can. I think he's. You don't think so?
I could see there are a lot of teams that I could see saying, "Okay, we'll go with the failed drug test." The Giants aren't one of them. There's no way.
Okay,
no chance.
I guess I'm not.
Believe me, no chance.
Right.
It's like there's no way. You never hear about the Giants like. If you're Lawrence Taylor, you'll get a second chance for the Giants. But he's the only guy I can think of that's ever gotten the second chance there. Steve, Steve comes from a family of Giant fans. Steve, am I missing something here? Because the Giants aren't second. The Giants are not like the Patriots, where it's like, all right, we know Corey Dillon is got a problem. It's like they're the guys that get rid of those guys.
And here's the other thing: Gettleman has to get this pick right. I mean, the Giant base. I would say more of them don't like Gettleman than do.
Yeah.
I think Gettleman has done a good job, in my opinion. But again, he's had Barkley and Daniel Jones, where you got the quote unquote franchise quarterback and you got the best running back, right? But it's still not good enough for the Giant fans. Gettleman's got to get this right. And my only point is, if Becton has a failed drug test, there's no chance of taking him.
Then maybe switch him out for Jedrick Wills or something like that.
Right. Right. That I could understand. But, he's not taking the fly when it comes.
Yeah.
So Rod and I are going to start doing horses. Rod, when is the good tracks running?
Well, you like Gulfstream and
when?
Either Wednesday or Thursday, I believe.
All right, so either Wednesday or Thursday we'll be doing it.
Yeah, because the only ones going now is like Will Rogers and Fauner Park, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
No.
I'll do Tampa and some of the other.
Yeah, and I think they'll start up Wednesday. I'll double check, but it's either Wednesday or Thursday. I know they take Monday, Tuesday off.
But I'll start doing the horse racing show. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll figure it out. So, yeah, Vonner, Mount Will Rogers. That's today. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Vonner, Happy Valley, Fort Myers. That's
So it is
that's
Thursday.
Greyhound, right? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Tampa
So
Bay
Thursday.
Downs. There's Tampa Bay tomorrow, but that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Then
But
Thursday, I think Gulfstream
in
starts.
Remington. But Remington's at night. Gulfstream is on Thursday. On Friday, you got the whole big enchilada.
Tampa, Oakland, and Gulfstream, I think.
Yep, Golden Gate.
Golden Gate. Oh, Golden Gate's going back up, eh?
Yep.
Nice.
Penn National.
Oh, those are starting again.
Palm Beach Kennel Club. Woo!
Woohoo!
Love myself a
Penn National-
72-pound one dog.
And National Golden Gate shut down, so theirs will be their first races since this whole thing started.
Santa Anita, Tampa Bay.
He's back too. Wow.
Yep.
I see horse tracks are starting to come back, so that's a good sign.
Wheeling.
Just stay away from the Aussie races at night.
Meadowlands. Oh, Los Al at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Los Alamitos.
Yes.
I just find out that it's like speed racing. It's weird because they all line up in this big row. Horses come out, ears are pinned back, and they're like.
I'll tell you, with Craig Trapp, I used to bet a lot of Los Al, and my jockey and his jockey, our guy, was always Agapito Delgadillo. It's like Agapito's in. It's like could be on the strip, like buying a slice of pizza. It's like check your phone. Agapito's going in the next race. It's like run to the sports book. It's like. Ah, man, unless you bet those quarter horses I don't think you could be a real degenerate gambler and have never bet the quarter horses at Los Al.
I know.
If you're familiar with Agapito Delgadillo, you have a problem, then we love you.
It's like Remington. Remington is the same thing.
Oh,
like
yeah. The quarter horse
It's like
that's where Baffert started.
That's
You know?
all I see. Yeah.
Baffert started with the quarters.
Did he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Baffert was like the top quarter horse trainer, and that's how he became a thoroughbred trainer.
His wife has horses. Like his wife does. I've seen a couple of. I've seen a couple horses of hers in the last couple of weeks at either Oakland, Gulfstream. He's put them in there. And all of a sudden, her name popped up, and I was as a trainer, and I was like, "What? His wife's got a horse." I don't think she won that race. I think she came second. But that horse took a lot of money that day.
So Thursday it could be a doubleheader, Gulfstream Park with the NFL draft. Probably do horse racing with the NFL draft too. That would be interesting.
That would be cool, yeah.
In between picks.
Yeah, no, I think you can. I think you can.
Yeah.
Let's see who's going on Thursday, especially on Saturday. Yeah, Thursday would be there's Australian racing and then Remington. We could do Remington Park
Remington.
at the NFL.
You're Remington, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to cover some Remington Park racing also as well. It's like
In between draft picks.
well, the thing is that
right.
first round, it's like as much as like the later rounds, the picks are coming and it's like you can't even keep up with them. The first round, it's like it's so long in between picks. What is the time limit this year in between picks? Is it still 10 minutes,
know.
15 minutes? They change it all the time.
I wonder if the virtual aspect will have something to do with that they don't have to wait for the guy to walk up anymore.
I'm Googling it. So, who won yesterday in the sim games? I did the coin toss on the show. I didn't even look at point spreads.
So the Bills beat the Texans 41-31. So the Bills won outright as a dog.
Oh, that wasn't even on my sheet. Oh, I think that game had already started.
Yeah, I think that was probably the early game. The Bucks beat the Panthers 43-38.
I got totally different games.
I had
Yeah, because I think you're going because you did the show by yourself yesterday, so you weren't flipping a coin doing sim picks.
No, I did do
Oh,
it.
did you?
Yeah, I went with Chris's sim picks that he posted in the Facebook group, and I just did the same games. I have the Cardinals, the Bears, the Patriots, and the Ravens.
Bears, Patriots. That had to have been from a few days ago.
Really? It said the 20th. All right. Never mind.
So today,
But anyways, the NFL draft, the first round is 10 minutes each team.
10 minutes.
Then it goes to
10 minutes,
then it
okay.
goes 5 minutes each team. And in round 7, just 4 minutes per team. So it definitely picks up the pace. And I think in those 5-minute rounds, after like the second round, it really starts to go fast on that third day. The second day, they do round. So how are they doing it? It's the first round, and then is it second and third all on the same day?
yeah, I'm guessing so. I think that's what I heard.
Second and third rounds are on Friday. Rounds 4 to 7 are on Saturday.
All right, well,
Teams get 7 minutes to make picks in the second round. 5 minutes for after that. 4 minutes in round 7.
all right, we'll have to figure out exactly the times that this thing's going to be on, and I will be on the air. And if these guys want to,
Starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
so 2:00 my time, and that's on Thursday. What about Friday? Probably earlier. Probably starts at 7. That didn't.
What was that? Timber!
Your surfboards take a tumble? What was that?
That wasn't my house. I think that's got to be Ruffalo's place.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Rod's Maple Leafs banner.
No, I don't think that was still there. That was at Chris's. Ruffalo got roofled.
I gotta jump though. I gotta get on a call for another thing. So
All right,
I'll talk to you tomorrow and have a good day.
you're just taking all the home teams for the sim picks. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, give me all the home.
Yeah, we only have 3 games from now until basically the last game. So,
Good. All right,
All right.
I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, bud.
all right, I'll see you guys.
All right, Chris, what do we got today?
So at 3:00 Eastern, Titans at Bills. Titans 2.5, over under 54.5.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I like the Bills.
I got Titans at the Bills, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 7:00, Eagles at Saints. Saints -7, over under 60.5.
I'll take the Saints.
I got
-7.
Eagles.
Yeah, I like the Saints as well. And last one, Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs -7.5, over under 58.5.
Chargers at Chiefs.
Yeah, I like the Chargers and the over.
I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like the Chargers too. Chargers +7.5.
So I'm against you guys in everything. All right.
What else is new?
I'm tossing a coin over here. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. God, I can't wait to do picks again. It's going to be weird. It's like I was thinking about yesterday because I'm working on graphics packages,
Yeah.
for the show. And, how we're going to, because with the new studio and stuff, the show is going to change a little bit, the way that we do things. And one of the things that we're going to be adding is a lot of graphics. So it's like I want to have the graphics of the games that we're covering and then recapping everyone's picks at the end of the show, with graphics and stuff. And it's kind of like, I'd forgotten the format of how we actually pick the games on the show. And I think what we did is, like, for hockey, we kind of just went through the schedule most of the time. And then when we had heavy amounts of other sports, I kind of just asked you guys, what are you betting today, right? Is the way that we did it, instead of going through every game, depending on the size of the schedule and stuff. And then we kind of did the same thing with the NBA and with college, where we kind of just picked at games. So we might have to do a little bit more preparation than we ever had to do, which hopefully doesn't take anything away from our show. But, whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And it's like, if worst comes to worst, we'll get someone that just does graphics, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I will see you guys. We'll see everyone tomorrow as we get one day closer to the NFL draft.
Yep.
Have a good one.
See you guys. Take care.